Request the speaker to begin. Thank you.
Yeah, good afternoon, friends. So, nice afternoon. So, let us have some chat discussions on factors affecting production in horticultural crops. So, all of us who are in the field of agriculture, we know that production is the thing which will speak about the return on investment. So, every farmer, every producer in agriculture would like to go for good production of the crop, whatever is the best suited production for that particular crop, we would like to have. Now, what happens? Many times we face the problem that we are trying to do good agriculture, but our yields are going to be lesser. The plant is not performing better, and the yields are coming down. Either flower drop is there, flowers are not getting formed, and then fertilization of the flower fails. Okay, the fruit is not going to become bigger. All these types of issues are going to happen, which will result in lower production of the horticultural crops. So this can be looked into from a different So this can be looked into from different factors angle. So first of all, let us say there is something called as environmental factor, which will have the climate of the country or the region, the local weather conditions, the temperature that is there in the season of the crop, the rainfall that is there in that zone, what is the light intensity that you are getting, what is the relative humidity that is there in the atmosphere. Now, these are the factors which are going to be affecting the production from the environmental angle. So, India being something like a subtropical climate generally, except Himalayas, where we can say it is a temperate climate to a great extent, and very bottom nearer to Ceylon is tropical. So, we are having generally subtropical climate, and so accordingly, we have to select the suitable crop. If that is not the case, then we may have to manage these factors so that the factors don't affect our production. We'll come to that them again individually. After environmental factor, we have got edaphic factor, that is soil related. So this is one of the major factors where all of us are going to face the problem. For example, the pH of the soil, that is whether it is acidic or alkaline in condition or saline in condition. This is one factor which is going to affect. Then there is electrical conductivity, which is the salt content of it. pH is basically acid content. Either it is alkalinity or acidity. The electrical conductivity is the salt content, especially sodium, which is going to be toxic at a higher concentration. Then, as far as soil is concerned, we should know the topography. If there is a slope in the soil, then there will be always soil erosion. So, once the soil erosion is going to take place, the carbon material goes away, and then the soil pH also changes, electrical conductivity changes, fertility changes, all the upper soil is gone, carbon content is gone, or organic matter is gone. These are the aspects which are going to be there as far as topography is concerned. Then we have got soil moisture. Soil moisture is also very crucial because at lower soil moisture, the plant may wilt and it may not be able to take the nutrient from the soil because there is no water. Because there is no moisture in the soil, the stomata in the leaf gets closed. Thereby, there is no evaporation. So, if there is no evaporation, cooling will be also affected to the plant, and uptake of nutrients from the soil is affected. So there must be always adequate moisture in the soil, not excess, not low. Then we should have good organic content in the soil, that is the carbon material. This is what we add using farmyard manure or cow dung manure or any other animal waste, and also from leafy material, whatever leafy waste or farm waste is there, that also adds on to the organic content. So there is something called as carbon nitrogen ratio in plants, which is very important, and carbon is one of the important source of the elements that is required by the plant. Then there is soil flora. Soil flora means the organisms, the fungi, the bacteria that are living in the soil, which are useful to us. And there are also some bacteria, fungi, virus, etc., which are not good for us. That is disease causing. That also is one factor. At the same time, useful flora, useful fungi, useful bacteria are also very important for us. So we should know all these aspects and manipulate them to our advantage. Then here, next is our biological factors. That is what crop you are going to select depending upon your soil, your temperature, your climate, your light conditions. All these factors are there given to us because we are stationed at a particular location. So based on these things, we have to select a suitable crop. Then only we can get good returns or good production. If your selection of the crop is wrong, or your variety that you have selected is wrong, then the crop will not be able to perform. Unless and otherwise, you are going to manipulate these factors by giving protected cultivation. Next factor is the diseases. So diseases also are going to bring down the yield of the crop. Likewise, the insect pests, which are going to attack the plants and reduce the yield. So these are also the two factors which we have to be cautious, have knowledge about them, under what condition the diseases will increase, under what condition the insect pest will increase, in which season, what temperature affects them in breeding and multiplying. All these things have to be known. These are again the factors of production. As I said already, we have got useful microbes which are going to be helpful to us. So we should have the knowledge about them. For example, we have got mycorrhiza. It's a fungus which can either be on the surface of the root or inside the root, and also a part of it outside. It absorbs the mineral nutrient and puts into the root, inside the root. Thereby, the absorbing area of the root gets increased because the fungus also draws it from a distance and brings it into the root. So we have got mycorrhiza. Suppose there is some disease issues, the wilt issues like fusarium, verticillium, bacteria, etc. Then we have got useful fungi called as trichoderma. So if we are applying this, it is an integrated pest management concept. So it is going to compete with the disease producing fungus and protect the plants. So likewise, we are going to have other bacteria like rhizobium, which fixes nitrogen from the atmosphere, and we have got similarly agrobacterium, which does the same thing, and we have got phosphorus soluble bacteria, which is going to create acidity and then make the unavailable phosphorus salts into soluble phosphorus salts. So these are the microbes which are going to be useful to us. How to bring in them into the soil? There are two methods. Either you are going to add them from outside, that is purchase them and add them, and otherwise you are going to improve the soil condition by adding more of organic matter or the farmyard manure. Thereby the microbes can come themselves from the atmosphere or from the soil, from the dust particle, and settle here and then grow. Please remember always, many times people are going to fail in this. Unless the environment is good, whatever you add from external source will simply die or will not multiply to the required numbers in your soil. So most important is your organic matter that you are adding, or the format manure you are adding, the moisture level, the temperature level you are maintaining in the soil. All these things are more important than simply buying a consortium of these bacteria and then add onto the soil, in which case you are only spending money, but it is not going to be of any use. So we'll go one by one. As I said, environmental factor, we have to select crops. Suppose you are in a temperate zone like Himalayas, Himalayan range, then your selection of crop will be temperate crops like apple. If you are in south or in parts of eastern parts like Bihar, the temperatures are higher, then you are going to select crops like mango or even lychee. So if you are selecting a crop like lychee, then there should be a very strong winter in the month of December. Temperatures going up to below 14 degrees. If there is no chilling happening, then there is no flower production in case of lychee. Likewise, mango, moderate temperature should be there. Too much of cold also is no good. Flowering will not come. So depending upon the weather conditions in which that you are having in your farm, you should select the crop suitable. Sometimes there are varieties like in apple. Apple requires a cold temperature, but there are warm climate apples that are available. Those apples, if you are going to grow, then in south also apple is being cultivated now in parts of Karnataka. So this is about selection of crop and variety that is suitable for the weather or the climate. Now the light issue is there. Suitable quantity of light is required, and unless there is a good quantity of light, your yield will come down. Photosynthesis is not going to happen. Likewise, there are crops which require lesser light, maybe like lettuce, where the light intensity should be comparatively lesser, not too much. So similarly, there is temperature issue. Temperature should not be higher, it should be moderate. If temperature is higher, reproductive activity will get affected. Pollen anther dehiscence will not happen. Pollen will shrink and becomes infertile. So likewise, that is the reason why you don't get yield, and the flower drop happens if there is no fertilization or the pollination. So temperature becomes important. Likewise, for growth also, suitable temperature is required. For reaching the required maturity, there is something called as heat units. So every day's temperature is added, and a quantum 4,000, 5,000 is reached till the maturity. So if the temperature is lesser, then the duration of maturity will be longer. So optimum temperature is always advisable. Higher temperature means uptake is affected. Lower temperature also plant is going to take rest or dormancy, then there is no proper activity. So likewise, humidity. Humidity also should be something like 75-80%, not more than that, not much lesser. In cases that happens, you should be able to give protection for all these shortfalls. In case of light, you have to provide artificial lighting. In case of temperature, you should give shading. Okay, and in case of humidity, you have to go for misting. So by doing all these things, you provide required environment for the crop. Thereby, your yield is going to be guaranteed. Suitable irrigation is required. Suitable irrigation is providing the required water quality having correct pH, correct electrical conductivity is needed. And type of irrigation that you are going to choose. See, in traditional system, we are going to do flood irrigation, which is the lowest cost. And later on, we are having sprinklers for field crops, then drip for the horticultural crops. Here, the water is given in the root zone where it has to be given, and excess water is not given. And when the water is having problems of electrical conductivity, then required quantity of water only can be given using systems like drip. Now, fertilizer also can be given under using the drip system, what is called as fertigation. This also can happen. So then, if you are using drip, you should be always cautious, depending upon your soil type and depth of the soil. You should give the required quantity of water only. You should not give longer duration of drip irrigation. whereby water that is going to be given will be logged, or water logging happens, or flooding happens in the soil. So suitability of irrigation, quality, quantity, timing also important. In case of crops like mango, in lychee, you should stop watering when before flowering. Once the flowering triggers, then you should give water immediately. If you are not doing this, then what happens? Vegetative propagation happens, and then there will be no flower, or there will be no much flower. So this is also important factor of production. Then we need to protect the plant from cold. In India, it is comparatively less. We have got heat problem, except maybe in Himalayas. So if there is a problem of cold or heat, then we use protective cultivation, that is polyhouses, and there are modern retractable polyhouses, retractable roof polyhouses. These things are used, thereby the light is reduced and the cooling effect can be brought in and humidity can be increased, and thereby we are giving protection to the plants. Now, next we have got soil. Soil is the material produced by weathering of the rocks, base rock. So depending upon what base rock was there in your region, different types of soils are formed. There can be also soils which are because of the rivers, which are going to come bring the silt and deposit. They are called as alluvial soils. There are sandy soils, red soils, brown soils, black soils, clayey soils, black cotton soils which are very heavy in clay. So like this, different types of soils are there, and each soil is having different properties. Clay can hold water, sand cannot hold water. Okay, in case of clay, there is less of aeration, and in case of sand, there is very heavy aeration. Alluvial soils are medium type, both they have got little clay and some sand also in that. So depending upon the soil condition, there will be also pH and EC variations. So that knowledge you should have, and then manipulate accordingly. And also go for suitable crops which can be grown in that type of soil. So some of the plants can accept clay soils, less aeration, and those crops have to be grown in clay soils. And if there is a sandy crop, then you have to go for sandy soils. And if it is a sandy soil, then you have frequent irrigation, but light irrigation is required. In case of clay soils, the periodicity between two irrigation should be longer, and little quantity of water can be given because it holds water. Water holding capacity is higher in clayey soils. Then we have got what is called as pH of the soil, which should be generally near 7. That is neutral. If it is below 7, as it goes down and down further and further, more and more acid soils are there. Generally, when soils are red, you get acid soils, and in black soils, it is going to be alkali or saline soils. More calcium content, more magnesium content will be there. So above 7, it is alkaline soil or saline soils. It can be classified. So we should have something very close to 7. However, if you are blessed with, let us say, acidic soil or alkaline soils, it is better that you choose the related crops which can tolerate the alkalinity or acidity. Thereby, the production or the yield is going to be higher. So, a knowledge about your soil pH is a must, and this can be corrected using acids like sulfur. Even in case of hydroponics, you can use acid straight like sulfuric acid, nitric acid in a diluted form, and change the pH also. In case of open cultivation, we can add sulfur and organic matter, thereby pH can be brought down. Even if it is alkaline soils or saline soils, you can add more of organic matter and what is called as gypsum or calcium sulfate, thereby the effect of the alkalinity or salinity can be reduced. So what I was talking about EC. See, generally EC should be around 1. or up to 1.4 in case of clay. If it is loamy or sandy soils, should be nearer only to 1. So this is measured in millimos or milli or Siemens per unit area or per centimeter. So millimos is British system and Siemens is the metric system. Then we have got diseases and insect pests. These are also going to be factors which are going to reduce your yields. Whenever the plant is weak, which is because of nutrient shortage or because higher temperature or higher light, then the plant is not in a healthy condition. So if it is not in a healthy condition, generally the diseases or insect pests can attack better because the resistance ability of the plant is lower. So both disease and insect pests get activated at adverse conditions. Adverse conditions mean it can be heavy rains, it can be high temperature, even higher light, maybe in some cases like this, or the nutritionally plant is weak. These are the adverse conditions, in which case the plant can be in wilting status, and so the turgidity of the cells is weaker. The wax coating on the leaf is not good. Under such circumstances, diseases and insect pests are going to be higher. So then you are forced to go for pest control measures, which means you are adding cost. And not only that, the production will come down. Yeah, as I said here, the soil pH, the soil EC, which are responsible for proper uptake of nutrients, are important, which needs to be controlled or kept in normal levels. Temperature should be kept under normal levels. Relative humidity should be kept under normal levels, around 75–80%. Thereby, there is no desiccation of the plant or drooping of the plant. Thereby, the health condition is good. That helps to reduce diseases and pests. Then there can be situations where there can be flooding or waterlogging, leading to poor aeration in the root zone. See, in the root zone, depending upon the soil type, if it is a clay soil, easily water will be held in the larger quantity, holding capacity is higher. If it is sandy, then it is much better. There can be an impermeable layer at a particular depth in the soil. So that you have to study soil profile as you cut across. What is the depth of the soil? You have to study if the impermeable layer is much higher, then waterlogging happens because water gets stopped there. If it is lower than 10 feet, then the plant will not be able to get water from the natural source. Then you have to give irrigation more and more. Now, this poor aeration means accumulation of carbon dioxide. There is no aeration, shortage of oxygen. And carbon dioxide and ethylene gases gets accumulated in root zone. So carbon dioxide creates the suffocation or no oxygen content to the cells, and mitochondria will not be able to do the respiration. And if there is no respiration, there is no energy and there is no uptake. Ethylene is the one which is going to create senescence or yellowing or old age. So these things should not be accumulated. That is why soil should be moderately having the water and moderately having the aeration. So that is important. So that is why we do intercultivation, loosen the soil generally, thereby creating aeration. So if there is water logging or flooding, then what happens? There will be no oxygen content. Some plants can tolerate some level of flooding, but many do not. So in that case, what happens? There will be death of tissue or necrosis, and the fungal attack will increase, bacterial attack can increase, so diseases will prevail. Not only this, there is no energy, there is no oxygen content in the root zone, so the roots will fail to take up the nutrients mineral nutrients or fertilizers from the soil area or the growing medium, whatever it is. So poor uptake will result in poor production. That will not be able to produce more. Then there can be wilts. It can be physaelium wilt, bacterial wilt, or verticillium wilts. Different types of wilts are there. There also the fungus or bacteria is going to grow in the stem or the root, xylem or the phloem, the conducting tissues. Thereby, the plant will not get nutrition or the water, and the plant wilts and it will die. So flooding should be avoided. Proper water aeration should be there in the soil. Then what are the causes? Heavy rainfall. If it is continuously happening, then there will be waterlogging. Then defective drip system operation. See, many times what we do, we switch on the drip and just go out for a cinema or go for sleep. Early morning only we will come back and switch off the drip. So if you are going to give more than 4 hours or the planned irrigation, then very heavy water collection will happen. So water should be able to percolate, go down, and to that extent only we should give water or irrigation. Especially in drip irrigations, many times we face this problem. More irrigation is given, thereby flooding happens. It is not visible on the top, but at the bottom it is always heavily loaded with water. So we have to be very poor on this thing. We have to be very careful on this case. Then there is poor drainage. So if there is a impermeable rocky or hard pan much earlier in the soil, then water gets stagnated early and there will be poor drainage. So then all these issues will happen. So if that is the case, then we can go for deep plowing, break that pan, thereby water can get into the deeper layers. So waterlogging should be looked into carefully so that flooding will not hurt us. Then management in general. Proper selection of the crop and variety I have discussed. Integrated pest management, which is all pervasive. That is, you manage the environment, you manage soil organic content, then you put a good aeration in the soil, you give correct waters and correct fertilizers. All these things are done in proper manner so that the disease and insect will not be there. Even we use insect nets, thereby insect population in the crop area can be reduced. Either you can have polyhouse with side insect nets or only insect net itself. If the rainfall is not a concern, then insect population can be reduced. If you are giving proper light and humidity and good growth environment, then diseases will be lesser. Plowing or intercultivation is a way by which we loosen the soil, thereby soil aeration is improved. Management of temperature, as I said, is very important. It should not be higher, in which case the stomata will close and there is no evaporation from the plant, thereby uptake of the nutrient also will be stopped. So higher temperature is detrimental or dangerous. Lower temperature, that is 14 and below, the plant activity will come down, so it go for rest, and again there will be no uptake. So stomata also will be again closed, because generally when temperature comes down, humidity will be higher. So the stomata will close and there will be no uptake. So that also is going to bring down the yield. Likewise, light. If light is too much, then also it is not advisable. If it is too little, then also it is not advisable. So under such circumstances, either you provide artificial light, or if there is excess, then you give little shading, depending upon the type of the crop that you are growing. Then incorrect spacing. If you are putting too big a number in a small zone, then it can have shading. So if that is the case, then the yields can come down. So central opening of the tree or training of the tree is very essential. So thereby proper lighting is given. Nowadays we are also trying to have what is called as high density plantations. There this management becomes more and more important, because there should not be shading of one plant over the other. and the yield will come down. Maintenance of relative humidity. Relative humidity is the moisture level in the air around the plant. So if this is lower, then again plant will close its stomata, no uptake. If it is higher, then also guttation will be taking place, or diseases can come in. And again, if humidity is higher, uptake will be affected. So there should be some kind of dryness also to the required extent. That is very important. So these are the management aspects. Okay. Now you see there are different elements, major elements and the minor elements. See, for example, there are nearly 16 different elements that are required for the plant to grow completely, out of which 3 are going to be provided by nature. That is carbon, oxygen and hydrogen. These are provided by the nature. And major elements which are required is nitrogen, phosphorus and potassium. These are required in larger quantity. Nitrogen essentially helps for cell multiplication and development, and phosphorus and potash are mainly disease controlling, and the quality of the cell will be improved in P and K. But all the 3 are required in the required quantity, and different plants will require different doses of NPK, and at different stages of plant production, that is flowering and fruiting and vegetative growth, different concentration of NPK are desired. So that has to be looked into. Apart from that, we have got certain other elements which are also next to these major elements or middle level, that is sulfur, magnesium. These are very important at level 2. Then there are micronutrients which are also equally important, like iron, boron, chlorine, manganese, zinc, copper, molybdenum, nickel, and to some extent silicon dioxide. These are also important. Whenever the pH and DC are not good, then these elements are not available to the plant for uptake. So they may get locked. Certain things get locked under lower pH. Certain things get locked at higher pH. Sometimes they are released in more quantity. Like in alkaline situation, boron is released in more quantity. Thereby it becomes toxic. Ionic toxicity will happen. So in which case, plant will not be able to perform. So we have to look into this. So this salt stress is very important. If it is higher in the soil, then what happens? The nutrients from outside, from inside the root can come out, which is called as X-osmosis. So generally osmosis takes place, the salt strength of the cytoplasm inside the cell is always higher compared to outside. So thereby nutrient moves from the soil to the plant of the root. It should not be other way around. So that is important. If the salt stress is more, then a situation will crop up where sodium and chlorine can enter into the cell more, and they are toxic. The ionic toxicity increases and the plant will not be able to produce higher. So these are the different things. So we have to manage all these aspects to get our required results. Hence, it becomes little complex as far as management is concerned. But anyway, one by one, we have to look into and then bring them into the normal level. So these are the things. So we are going to manage temperature, light, humidity, and diseases, which are all part of our management system. So a good agronomic system means all these things have to be looked into. So this comes to the close of the time given to me. I have taken another 5 minutes extra already, so this is fine. So any specific questions you are anybody is interested in asking? Let me see whether we can answer here. If it is more intensive, then you can contact me later also. I think the agricultural information will provide you contact number. you can contact me later also for more detailed study of your farm, if any problems are there. But however, at this juncture, if you want any questions to be answered, let us take them now.
Okay, Mr. Anil. There are few questions.
Yes.
If you'd like to finish, you can finish, then we'll take up the question.
No, we'll take the questions and
Okay.
then something may crop up for more analysis, detailed discussion.
Okay. So, okay. What are some profitable high-tech agriculture projects will you recommend?
Good question. See, high-tech, see, profitability, when you discuss, there are different topics that come into our mind. One is investment and our capability to invest, the promoter's capability to invest a particular sum. So first we have to decide what is comfortable to that promoter or the farmer. For one thing. Second thing is what type of marketing you are looking into. Are you looking into just bulk marketing, or are you looking into export market? Based on that, the investment and strategies to grow differs. So then there is protected cultivation and open cultivation. So protected cultivation is always high tech, and investment, infrastructure investment is higher, requires a better management, a professional management is required. So in case of open cultivation, there comparatively you can control a few things, not many, because there is nothing that you have got in your hands to control if it is open. So there the profitability can be there, but it need not be very sure, because you have done all the good things, but one fine day there is heavy rain and your crop loss may happen. So dividing it into two groups, in open cultivation, crops like papaya, banana, pomegranate can be good profit providers. If you are going for high-tech cultivation, protected cultivation, then you can go for colored capsicum, you can go for tomatoes, heirloom tomatoes or beef stick tomatoes, and then you can go for cherry tomatoes of different types, round, oval, etc. Different colors are also going to come. They are priced very high. And if you are in a colder zone at a little higher altitude, you can go for blueberries, strawberries, raspberries, blackberries, like these berries you can go. And then in open cultivation again, mango, lychee are good. And you can go for seedless cucumbers in case of protected cultivation, semi-automatic polyhouses or high-tech polyhouses. These are the different crops which are which can be recommended for higher returns.
Okay. And next question is, what are the main reasons why high-value agriculture and horticulture projects fail?
Good question. This is a burning topic. So, first of all, in Indian situation, many promoters or the farmers may not be willing to invest higher investment on the infrastructure. For the simple reason, they are not sure of the return for the produce that they are going to grow. They may get the produce, but they may not get good rates. Now, in spite of having some facilities like polyhouses, even in case of retractable high-tech polyhouses, there are cases where the failures happen. Failures happen because of lack of understanding of the science behind growing. And many people try to do experiments themselves, either picking up the knowledge from internet or here and there, they will listen and then do it. See, when you are having a very high investment, then you should have a professional who is seasoned, and fundamental qualification should be in agriculture or horticulture. And if anybody wants to jump in from other lines of commerce or engineering, then they will have certain limitations, because somewhere they will have a difficulty in understanding the basics. If the basics are not strong, then up to some extent they will run and they will stop there. So there is a need for a professional approach whenever you want higher yields or assured yields, because that integrated approach thinking comes only after a lot of experience with proper basic qualification. So the failure is happening because many people are learning themselves, or half baked knowledge. Here and there they will pick up and then go ahead. So and so the technology is not properly adopted, and in so those cases are half knowledge or half adoption of the technology. All such factors will lead to failure even in high-tech agriculture. So should be complete, and then only your results are also going to be complete. Whenever you are adding more technology, more problems will crop up because you are manipulating something, and so you should know how to get proper levels of each factor of production. What we discussed now, the light, the temperature, relative humidity, how to ensure that what I want I will get.
Okay. And okay, as a consultant, as an agriculture consultant, what are some main projects you have done in recent years?
Recent years, you see, the first high-tech project, state-of-art high-tech projects of India, I designed about 2-3 years back in Hyderabad with an investment of about 30 crores on a 15 acres land. That is about 2 acres average investment per acre. So apart from that, smaller open cultivation projects I have done in Patna for lychee, mango, vegetable crops. Near Patna I have done for about 400 acres. Mainly lychee, followed by mango, and other things are vegetable crops. Apart from that, I worked on bananas, and then yeah, mainly bananas, papayas have done, but they are all small projects nearby Karnataka. So these are the projects that I have done.
Okay. And now we have a question about your company. What does your company Shresta Seeds do, and what kind of seeds do you supply?
Shresta Seeds is basically a seed company. So we are in Shresta Seeds, we are providing technical know-how, hand holding for the farmers, and also supplying all kinds of vegetable seeds. We don't deal with field crops like maize, paddy, or ragi, or jowar, etc. Only vegetable seeds we are supplying to the needy farmers. And we have, as a policy, we have kept it mostly direct supply. So it is one-to-one. The farmers are in touch with me directly, and they will also get the advice if they are having any problems. Apart from that, we are doing this consulting all over India, in all states.
Okay. Okay, Mr. Anil, I am not seeing any more questions, so I think you can complete your presentation now.
Yeah. So, fine, friends. I think I have given some bird's eye view of different things, and now it is one should have some specific issues for more elaborate discussion on these aspects. And so my suggestion is have everything in moderation, don't overdo anything, and then invest properly, not more, not less. But if you are investing more, then definitely you should have proper advice from a qualified person and experienced person also. And if you are another subject is when you are going to increase your investment or infrastructure, then cost will go up. Then you have to go for a bank loan necessarily. Most of the cases, it is the situation. And for that, you have to go for a detailed project report where you are going to explain all these aspects and then show them a cash flow. That is, what is the cost that you are going to incur and what is the profit that you are going to get, and then at what stage. Like this, you should be able to explain in DPR, and such DPR we generally prepare and also handhold the people so that they get a bank loan. So such people who are anybody is in need, they can also contact us. I think with that, I try to close this session unless anybody further wants to ask any other questions.
Okay, Mr. Anil. Yeah, I'm not able to see any further questions from our participants. So now we have come to end of question round. On behalf of agricultureinformation.com, I like to thank Mr. Anil Patil for the detailed presentation and answering all the questions. And we also like to thank all the participants for joining this meeting. The meeting will now be closed.
Thank you.
You're most welcome, sir. Thank you.